Okay, so today is one of the storytelling sessions. Um, about a month ago, a few weeks now, we started the practical session, which is also once every week. But within the practical sessions, there are different things. So one of the things is the first practical session we had was I shared a story um, about I prepared for the USMLE exam, which was practical, like I showed you how I did things. I showed you things I wrote down and stuff like that. But in the practical series every month, there are four different things. So that's one of them is practical for practical, where I share my story. The one of them is what I'm doing today, which is I titled it story or funny story sessions. And what this means is I'm going to get to share a story that I think is funny. I'm not a very funny person. And the purpose, like I always say at the beginning of every video, I share the why so that we don't misunderstand the things I have to share. So the purpose of this video is just to make you laugh. And of course, just like for every funny story, there might also be a little bit of a lesson at the end. So it's also possible to pick one or two things that may be useful for your personal life or life of your kids or something like that. So that's what this video is about. So today is a funny story. That's the caption. And the title today is how a 15-year-old boy was able to conquer short-term alcohol use. So if you have any story you really like me to share, please feel free to send me a private message if you have my phone number or my email. If you don't, can send an email to wole@oluwolebabatunde.com. You can always reach me. So that's my email you can always use to reach me. Wole, but that's WOLE at my first name, last name.com. Wole@oluwolebabatunde.com. So if you have any funny story that you think would be good to share, please feel free to send it and I will share it. But today the story I have for you is about a 15-year-old boy. So sit back and let's see how much I can tell a funny story. I'm not a comedian and I'm not very good at it. So let me say that up front, but the story is just to make us laugh a little bit. Before I say the story, which is going to be brief, like I always say, I try hard to keep all my videos at about 18 minutes, max a few more minutes above that, just for attention span. So I wear multiple hats, and whenever I do something a little bit different from the usual, I need to specify which hat I'm wearing. So I'm a psychiatrist who complete residency in June 2025 and will be an attending psychiatrist beginning from July. And one of the things we treat is alcohol use disorder. So I'm not wearing the hat of a psychiatrist here today. I can do another video another day that will wear the hat of a psychiatrist. I'm also a Christian by faith. But what I'm sharing about alcohol today is not necessarily representing Christian views. So I'll leave that to pastors to handle. So I'm not saying alcohol is right or wrong or alcohol, what the Bible says about alcohol. Nope. So like I said, it's just a funny story. So I'm not wearing my hat as a psychiatrist. I'm not wearing my hat as a Christian. I'm not even wearing my hat as Adapt and Advance creator. Adapt and Advance is what we use the MAPLAMP, MAPLAMP principle to teach something that I think is important for your life. That's not even the hat I'm wearing today at all. Again, because alcohol is such a big issue and it's a very big struggle for a lot of people, I plan to wear the hat of a psychiatrist one day and talk as a psychiatrist about alcohol. I plan to also wear the hat of Adapt and Advanced Creator on another day to teach about alcohol. And I also plan, at least, though I'm not a pastor primarily, but at least that's not my job. But I plan to wear my hat as a Christian someday to share my own personal opinion. Again, it's personal opinion about what I think alcohol is about. But because I can really not segment my life 100% into those hats, whatever I'm saying today might touch a little bit on all of those areas, but just putting it forward that this story is primarily just a story. So don't take things out of context. So a 15-year-old boy conquered short-term alcohol use. Let's just give the boy a name called Wiggle. Wiggle is the name of the boy. So Wiggle is a 15-year-old boy, and Wiggle is a boy who just lost both parents and was in high school trying to get life. Wiggle had some people that were routing for him, trying to help him. He had some older friends, and he had some friends that were his classmates. He had family members that were his mates. Some were older than him. So Wiggle had this particular friend who was older than he was and was already working, who was a pharmacist. Let's give the name of the pharmacist Pato. So Wiggle had this friend whose name is Pato, and Pato was interested in him. Why was Pato interested in Wiggle? Because Pato saw Wiggle as somebody who needed help. Like I said, Pato was a pharmacist and knew Wiggle because he had the opportunity to just work with him a little bit in one of the stores his father started before he passed. So Pato was interested in Wiggle and wanted to really, really help him. So encouraged him from time to time, told him things will be okay. The fact that you've lost your parents doesn't mean that that's the end of life. Told him he was here to help him. And he was just a nice person overall and a good person. So Wiggle was in a city in Nigeria, which for the sake of the story, we'll just call the name of the city Camry. So Pato was a pharmacist. Wiggle is a 15-year-old boy. Wiggle was living in Camry. Pato was living in another city where he was working. So there was this wedding ceremony of a family member of Wiggle. And Pato was coming to attend the ceremony because he was working for them. So Pato invited Wiggle to his house. He had a house in the city Camry. And Wiggle left school for the weekend, for the wedding, to attend the wedding, and at the same time to see his older friend whose name was Pato. So Wiggle got to Pato's house, and so at this point, Wiggle has never tasted alcohol. For some reason, he made up his mind since he was very young that he was never going to take alcohol. And the reason being, Wiggle's parents had told him that alcohol wasn't the best, and he was lucky. I call it lucky because most people don't have that opportunity. So Wiggle was lucky to have his biological father and mother not using alcohol. So it wasn't so hard for him to stay away from alcohol. And they had decided that he was never going to taste alcohol in his life while his parents were alive. So his mother died when he was 7. His father died when he was 13. So by the time he was 10, Wiggle already made up his mind on 3 things, which he said: 1, he wasn't going to take alcohol. He wasn't going to smoke cigarettes. Those were the 2 big things people do in his country at that time. And he was not going to have sex until marriage. So those were 3 decisions Wiggle made very early in his life, like before 10 years old. So at 15 years old, Wiggle had never tasted alcohol. So he visited on this wedding weekend, he visited his friend, Pato. When he got to Pato's house, and there was just a lot of alcohol. So Pato takes alcohol. He had many friends who took alcohol, family members who took alcohol. And Wiggle was offered alcohol. It's not been a discussion between Pato and Wiggle whether he uses or not. But because Wigo saw a lot of people around, everybody was taking it. Wigo didn't want to feel left out. So that's the funny part of the story, at least to me. Not wanting to be left out, Wigo started to take alcohol. I remember the specific brand that Wigo took. There was this brand called Gulder, Gulder, and there was the bigger bottle and there was a smaller bottle. So it was the smaller bottles. And Wigo started to drink just to feel along. At first, Wigo was like, what's happening to me? And, but, he pretended like he was used to it. It's so funny how peer pressure can just be a lot on people. But this wasn't even peer. This was an older person pressure because he wasn't really among his peers. Among his peers, he never did that. So it's not just peer pressure that affects people. Also, older person's pressure can affect people. Anyway, we got tired drinking, finished the first bottle. He thought it was going to something was going to happen to him. Maybe the world would be spinning or something. And so it was interesting that we go finish the first bottle and nothing happened. So it was like, wow, maybe there's nothing wrong. It tasted bitter though, which is one of the reasons, Wigo has always made up his mind not to take alcohol because of the taste. And this particular alcohol was really bitter. So, but because Wigo wanted to fit into everybody taking alcohol, he continued to take the bitter alcohol. So Wigo continued taking it. He finished the first bottle. More was passed to him. Started the second one. He kept on pretending as if this was not new to him. It was bitter, but he didn't show it on his face that this was bitter. The crave to fit in was just too much for him. He ignored the taste. He ignored every decision he has made when he was younger, never to taste alcohol in his life. And on. So one of his cousins also was here. We ordinarily don't take alcohol a lot too, but took a little bit that day. The cousin was older than he was. There was another cousin who was not right in the friend's house, Pato's house. We got to know about the incident later. Not to waste got a lot of long story short, Wigo ended up taking 5 bottles that day one of trying alcohol. You will have thought maybe you will have stopped on 1 or 2 or 3. He didn't stop until 5. So, but the funny thing that was that Wigo did not experience anything. He didn't feel. Maybe he did and he didn't know, but he did not, as far as he could remember. And his older cousin, who had knowledge of the situation too, did not notice anything. So after taking 5 bottles of beer, he traveled to his home city where the wedding was taking place. His friend Patoto was there. The older cousin got to know about it. And they talked a little bit about it. Wigo was like, I took 5 bottles today and I didn't feel anything. The other cousin was like, maybe you are designed for a lot of it. They went to the home city, was there. I think it took 1 more in the home city, and that was it for that day. The funny part of the story was nothing happened. Wigo did not feel anything. Nobody noticed anything. He didn't act drunk. Nobody noticed him acting drunk. People did not even know he really did that, except for his cousin and people that were present who had first-hand knowledge of it. And his friend, of course, Pato, he took alcohol, which it didn't mean anything to him because he didn't know that this was his first time. Anyways, the wedding came, was concluded. Wigo went back to school. So there was this other cousin of his, they were in the same school, who was in a class higher than Wigo, who uses alcohol regularly. So he got to know about it. Wigo told him about it. And for 2 more occasions, Wigo went with this cousin to take alcohol twice. This time they couldn't take a lot because they were paying for it with their own money. So they sneak out of school. This time Wiggle was living in a boarding house, but there were opportunities to sneak out to stores around. And this country was not a country where you have to like be 18 or produce or 21 to use alcohol. So you do like produce ID card. Nobody was going to ask you. So they went to the place. They took alcohol twice. This time just one bottle. They paid for it because they had to pay. But after the first time, the second time, just one bottle, Wiggle got to like snap out of this, like, what's happening to me? I've decided I would never take alcohol. This is bitter. This is costing money that I don't even have. And stuff like that. And so eventually, Wiggle is now in his 40s. By the time this story is being told, those were the only 3 occasions Wiggle ever tried alcohol, as far as he could remember. The first day was the 6 bottles-ish, and nothing happened. The second day was 1 bottle. The third day was 1 bottle, and he got out of it. And he never went back to it for some reason. So that's the funny story. And the fun about it is Wiggle is himself. And that's just my alcohol story. Again, no judgment if you are struggling with alcohol. I'm going to create another video on another day where we'll talk more about getting help. Like I said, I'm going to wear the hat of a psychiatrist one day and talk to you as a psychiatrist. I'm going to wear the hat of a Christian another day and talk to you about my own personal view of my interpretation of the Bible about alcohol. And I'm also going to do a book review one day, which is going to, I have a book right now on my mind, which I listened to this week. Actually, I have 2 books, but this is the first one I bought. I'll buy another one later. The title is Alcohol Lied to Me, The Stop Drinking Expert Method by Craig Beck. If you are struggling with alcohol, I recommend you read this book. So, before I close for today, I don't know if my story was funny or not, but whether it was a real life story. So, if it's not funny, it's okay. I'm sorry. I wasted your time if you think it was going to be a lot of fun. I apologize for that. But the point is, before I go today, I just want to make a few points from Wiggle's story, which actually is my story, about alcohol. I've been to, now that I'm in the US, I've been to a lot of outings and, occasions where people are like, you don't take alcohol? I look so strange. At times, I almost feel ashamed to say I don't use alcohol, but I don't. For some reason, for me, it is 0. Like, I don't use at all. I don't even go near it. Irrespective, people say it has benefits for heart or something. I don't care. If you can put it in a pill form and they say this is good, maybe I can take 1 pill a day, like a multivitamin, maybe, but alcohol, no. But a few points from Wiggle's story, which is also my story, is I think one thing that helped me not to use a lot of alcohol or not to get hooked was I was told very early we had alcoholism. I was genetically loaded for alcoholism because there were a lot of family members. And I'll leave it at that to protect people's privacy. I won't mention further their relationships with me. There was a lot of family members which I saw growing up struggling with alcohol. Yes. Some of them are still struggling right now. So it was not difficult for me at all. So my parents made me understand that the likelihood of alcohol becoming a big issue is very high if you get involved. So it was easy for me as a very young child. Before I was 10, I already decided not to go near it. And there's this anecdotal story too, which I heard about. The anecdotal story was the story of twins that had a father who was an alcoholic, and one of the twins turned out an alcoholic, one of the other did not. And when both of them were asked why they chose their path in terms of alcohol, they both answered the same question: because I grew up with my father. So seeing their father being an alcoholic was the reason one of them did not. And seeing their father being an alcoholic was the reason the other twin chose his steps. Again, it tells us about the power of choice. So I knew very early that I had a choice to make if I want to go. But again, I count myself extremely lucky because maybe if my father was using or my mother was using, maybe it could have been a completely different story, maybe. But again, using the anecdotal twin story whose father was using and both of them turned opposites, I think we still have the power of choice. Again, there's genetic loading, definitely. So for me, now that I'm grown and I'm in psychiatry and I know more details about the genetic predisposition to alcohol use, I have a stronger reason not to even touch it right now. But of course, I didn't know so much then like I know now. So even though you have a genetic predisposition to alcohol and you've never tried it, you can just stay away. But again, it's the power of choice. Everybody has a choice to make. But if you are using already or you're using too much or you already have an alcohol use disorder and you really need help, suffice to say there's help. There's help. You can see a physician. There are medications that are FDA approved. We have naltrexone, for example. I'm not prescribing here. Like I said, I'm not going really hard. Even when I talk as a psychiatrist, I don't prescribe medications on my shows or my videos. So you might need to see a physician, talk to a physician about it, or talk to a psychiatrist about it. There are other medications that help to reduce cravings for alcohol. So medications, there are therapy sessions that can help. There are groups you can join, like Alcohol Anonymous, and there are multiple books that you can read. This is just an example of them. Multiple books you can read that can help. So there's help for you, and there are a lot of religious organizations, churches have small groups here and there that can also help you. So if you are struggling, I'm not minimizing your pain by my story. I just share my own story, and I wanted to make people laugh about the fact that somebody wanted to fit in so much and pretended so hard that people did not ever know that that was his first time, and it took 6 bottles same day, but for some good reason, and it never caused any problem. Like, it wasn't like drunk or acting drunk. It was okay talking to people normally, and nobody noticed it, except those they told or those who had knowledge of the situation. So, so that's just the funny part of the story that I wanted to share. I will wear different hats another day to tell you more about how you can get help if you are struggling, and my own personal views about alcohol as a Christian, my own help, I can get help as a psychiatrist, and other things can come up. And then we're going to do a book review. Definitely, this is one of the book reviews we're going to do soon, about just to see how we can get people who still struggle to get help for them. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching my not so funny story. Maybe if you find it funny, it's okay. If there are ways I can tell you that make it funnier, I will appreciate put comments. Feel free to put in the comments if you have an alcohol story too. And like I said, I'll be sharing once a month a story type. I'll call it story, a story type of video, which is strictly just meant to amuse you. Hopefully, I can develop the skill to make people laugh with time, and build it up a little bit. I know it can be funny a little bit at times, but it's not a skill that comes very easily to me, but which I really love to develop. So hopefully this video, you find it funny a little bit about somebody who never took alcohol, took 6 bottles day one. Although the good thing is it didn't continue. It would have been a very bad drinker if I continued, because if 6 bottles didn't touch him, I wonder how much would touch him. And maybe, yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Like the video, share the video, and hopefully you find it a little bit funny. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful time. Bye.